Well, first off, thank you for coming on here.
Thank you for having me, Gary.
Of course. So, yeah, getting right into this thing, would you be able to give us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what allowing flow is all about?
Well, allowing flow is about allowing flow.
Of course.
Who am I? What am I about? Well, for me, it's interesting, right? Because I can answer that question from many different perspectives, from many different views inside of me. What do I do? Well, what you see me doing online is
Yeah.
I go into presence and I express from that place. Or better, I allow expression to happen from that place. And sometimes it's stillness, sometimes it's words. Um, but that's what you see online right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how would you explain what you are allowing to flow through the vessel of Johanna? Is there a way that we could describe what this force is, what this presence is, and maybe where it all comes from for you?
Mm, yes, that's a really good question. What is it? For me, I call it the river of life. In German, which is my native language, I would use river instead of flow, actually.
Mm.
That
Mm-hmm.
is how it feels, how it happens through me, and how it wants to happen. You know, um, it is the river of the manifested, the river of life, the Tao, you could also call it. And it's arising out of the unmanifested. It's arising out of stillness, out of emptiness. And this river, it literally arises out of the emptiness and then it starts flowing and it wants to flow through everything and through everybody, through you just as much as through me or through anything which we can touch or see or perceive. And as a human, in my experience, we can choose to allow that flow to happen or not. It still happens, of course, but we can choose to allow it more or less. We can align with it. And others maybe would find other words for that. Maybe others would say align with your higher self or align with the universe or whatever. And for me, I like to use the words allowing flow, allowing the river of life, because that's for me how it feels, how the energy, the words that translate what I feel most the best.
Mm-hmm.
And you would maybe have very different words for that. For me, it's allowing flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that 100%. I like to say I become like the paintbrush of God. It's the Tao. Sometimes I like to say I'm an instrument. Yeah, there's many different ways to say it, but I think it all has to do with surrendering to a greater force, a greater will than our humanly will, and letting that take over. And yeah, in that is flow.
Yeah. And that is not so easy, right? That
Mm.
is not easy to allow this to happen through us because there are so many parts of us, like I said in the beginning, that don't want to allow that. Our ego, which likes to be in control and likes to direct where the things are going, right? It can be very challenging for us to allow flow, to allow the doubt, to allow the higher force to move through us. Because most of the time, in my experience, what's going to happen is The flow of life is going to show you the unconsciousness inside of you that may be still there. That it's going to show you what you need to bring light to, or what needs to be brought light to, for the flow to happen even more, right? So it can be very challenging in my experience, until it's not, until you're so clicked in that you just don't have a choice anymore.
That's it.
You're
Yeah.
just an instrument, like you said, for the, you could call it divine, or you could call it being, or you could call it presence, to happen through you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Where you don't have a choice anymore. It becomes so apparent and so powerful. It's like, why resist the stream any longer? And you just kind of let go and float downstream. Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. Now, what do you say we have to do or maybe not do in order to allow flow? You know, what gets in the way? Is it our desires? Is it like our will? What would you say gets in the way of being able to first notice this flow and then work with the flow?
I think for me, the answer to this is to observe all of the things that are in between you and allowing the flow to happen. The flow is happening all the time. The river of life is happening all the time through you, through me, through everything, right? And we want to observe what is in between of that and what kind of gets in the way. So our ego, the part of ourselves that wants to control, the part of ourselves that has likes and dislikes, our pain body, our emotions, right? We want to observe everything, what is in between of that, because it is happening all the time. There's no moment where it doesn't happen. In my understanding, there's no moment where it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to observe what is in between your thoughts, the emotions, your little self, our little self. Because that is the part that is pulling you out of the flow. And there it is a choice. There it is a choice to go with the little self, or to go, you could call it the higher self, the higher me, right? Or you could call it flow, the river. There it is a choice. What do you align with? It's a choice to observe your thoughts and your emotions every single moment again. And for me, the more I do that, the more I observe what's going on in my mind, right? These crazy thoughts happening. The more I observe what's going on around me. I don't know if we can hear it or not.
Mm-mm. Is there a lot going on?
There's like a loud sound right now.
No. That's just a
But the more,
metaphor, though, for what we're speaking about.
but the more I observe that, and the more I observe my emotions and be with it, the more I drop deeper. Do you know the scene from Harry Potter where they're, I think from the second movie, where they're in this snake and then they're kind of moving through? Do you know which scene I mean?
No, to be
No.
honest, no.
I always think about that one because for me it's so symbolic and there's so much wisdom in that scene. So it's Hermione and Harry Potter and Ron, and they are in these snakes. It's kind of like a plant, and they call it, I don't know, the devil's something.
Stop moving, both of you. This is Devil's Snare. You have to relax. If you don't, it'll only kill you faster.
Kill us faster? Oh, now I can relax. Hermione! Now what are we gonna do?
Just relax.
Hermione, where are you?
Do what
Yeah, I'm fine.
He's not relaxing, is he?
Apparently not.
And they think that they're lost, right? And these snakes, they're like pulling on them and whatever. And then they choose to relax. Hermione first, she chooses to relax because she remembers that she read that somewhere. She chooses to relax. And suddenly she is falling through the snake. And she is coming to the ground and she's looking up and she can see that on one level it seemed so real and it was so there. But once she relaxed into it and she let it be, she dropped deeper.
Mm.
And then the others followed. But that is for me how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're asking how do we allow the flow, right? For me, it's observing everything what is there. And then also we'll see that there is something deeper inside guiding us beyond emotions, beyond thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Just relax into it, right? Yeah.
Because it's there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's there. It's there. It's in every single one of us. It's so deep in our body. You could call it intuition or whatever. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, there are just things lying on top of it. Our thoughts and our emotions and our ideas and our beliefs. And they're lying on top of it.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I think you described it in the beginning a little bit. The essence is control. When we try to control the situation, that's us getting in the way of the flow. So I think it all has to do with letting go of control. I mean, we don't really have any control anyway, so you just have to let go of the idea that you have control. And then you can relax and float downstream. Yeah. It all has to do with surrender. It really does. I think all of my conversations come down to it. It's surrender and also a sense of devotion to the flow, you could say. You know, devotion to this higher power that we are guided by. And with that, yeah, it just becomes a little bit smoother. The journey becomes a little bit smoother as you travel through the snake. I'm going to look up that scene afterwards, and I might even put it as you're describing it on video. I just got to be able to find it.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's very powerful stuff. And it's very subtle at the same time. It's very powerful, yet being able to live in this sense of flow it's so subtle, you know. It's the difference is night and day, yet all we have to do is just nothing at all. Actually, that's the ironic thing. There's really nothing that you have to do in order to be able to tap into this flow, and it's available always and forever. This flow, the Tao, the higher self, the Sadguru within, whatever you want to call it, many different names, it's available for all of us to be able to attain, if you want to say attain, and live accordingly. And I would describe it as the only way to be able to find a little bit of peace amidst the turmoil of our life, you know, a little bit of happiness, a little bit of joy amidst our suffering. Would you say that is the incentive per se to be able to live in flow, is to actually enjoy our life?
What means incentive?
Incentive is like what you get out of it. And I know
What do you get out of it?
that might not be the best way to describe it. It's like the incentive to be able to tap in the flow is like, what am I going to get out of this deal of tapping in the flow?
Well, I think with that question, we have to be careful. Because if there is something inside of us asking, what am I going to get if I do this?
Yeah.
For me, that's usually a sign that it's my ego, because it's my ego wanting something.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do something now so I get something out of it. It's kind of like we live in this world. I give you money and I'm going to get these shoes, right?
Yeah.
So for me personally, when I can see that there is a part of me doing something now so that something happens in the future, or I get something in return, that's usually a point where I know that I need to bring some awareness into that place.
Yeah. It's missing the point is what you're saying.
But I think that was actually not your question. I just picked it up because you were saying that. But I think your question is more what happens, right? When you allow, right? Like you were saying, joy and peace. 100% for me. When I allow what wants to happen through me, there's so much peace. And don't get me wrong, like oftentimes there are emotions that are wanting to hold me back. You know, for example, right now talking to you, like, oh my God, talking on a podcast, like fear, right? And then I breathe and I go deeper. And I can feel that there is a space around it, you know, like a space around the emotion, a space deeper than the emotion. And that is what you could call peace, for sure. It's the place where all emotions and all thoughts are just ripples on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
You can let them all be there. The fear of being on a podcast, the fear of whatever, you can let it all be there. And at the same time, while you feel that, you can feel peace and maybe even joy, but as a state of being instead of an emotion. So like joy, the joy of experiencing all of this, experiencing even this crazy emotion called fear or anger or sadness or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you described it very well. The joy of just simple experience itself, despite the goings on of the world, of your mind, just the joy of it all. That is priceless. Yeah, that's truly beautiful to be able to see that, feel that, realize that, embody that. It's priceless, and it's like a sort of invulnerability. It's like armor, you know, it's like armor that you wear despite the fear, despite anything, really. Like you said, there is this deeper sense in all of us that just sees the fear, sees Mara, as people would say in a Buddhist sense, and just notes it, says, but I'm not going to listen to you. You know, it's like we learn to know what parts of ourselves to listen to, and you go with that. You know what to work with. Do you work with the egotistical thoughts of separation and constriction and resistance, or do you work with the essence of our being? Do you work with God? Do you work with the light or the dark, essentially? I think this path alludes to just knowing how to observe, yes, and then from that observation, knowing how to just how to act, I guess you could say, from what we're looking at, from what we see. And it just becomes natural. It's not like you have to think about this stuff. It's just like from that, as you said, take a breath. From that natural essence, it becomes clear and apparent of how we conduct ourselves, how the character conducts themselves, and how we ultimately feel in that presence. It's just like, it just becomes something that is, it's like no work. I don't know how to describe it. I think you can kind of get what I'm saying. It's like the simplest path, you know, being able to see this, observe this state of peace, presence, whatever you want to call it, and then living from that. It is just like, you don't have to add anything to your life, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's like no true work that you have to do in order to be able to live from this wavelength and this vantage point. It's just, like you said, simply breathe, and it'll all just naturally align for you despite the comings and goings of the world and of your mind. And that's the beauty of it, you know, because the comings and goings don't stop.
They don't. Like, and I even think the most enlightened people on this planet they still experience emotions and thoughts at times.
Definitely. Yeah, for
But
sure.
they just treat them in a different way. Like they don't make it mean so much, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think that emotions and thoughts and yada yada, this is the mind stuff, you don't let it affect, and this is just natural, as I said before, it doesn't let you respond in a negative way toward the world, so you don't create any bad karma, you could say, in a yogic sense. It allows you to actually, rather than react, respond more wise and more sattvically, where everything is just more conducive. So not only for your own life, but just naturally for others' life. I feel as though this is like, this flow spreads to the world and the people around you, you know, like this essence, it's just the essence of compassion, essentially, that just, it just kind of, yeah, it just kind of bleeds out to the people around you and the world around you, you know? You just know how to respond a lot more maturely, I guess you could say, to make this whole experience, not just yours, everybody else's, more conducive to the flow. The flow is contagious, you know? Yeah. 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 I think that's what it's about too. It's like not only improving your life, it's a win-win for everybody. It improves your life and then just naturally improves others' life. That's what I find, at least. I find this inclination and obligation in the sense of flow to just love people, right?
Yeah.
I think what comes from this character, this instrument of Gary, is just the expression of love. I feel if I could just analyze myself, say now, and then 5-10 years ago, I look at myself 5-10 years ago, I'm like, man, you were kind of an asshole. You know? And I compare myself now, and I don't, it's just, I feel as though I act a lot differently toward myself and toward others, as above, so below. So yeah, do you feel as though, you know, in this state of ultimate presence, from this awareness, you are just a better person overall? You're just a more naturally loving being, a compassionate being toward the world around you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would
I think
probably use different words,
you wouldn't
but
say
yeah.
asshole.
Not
Yeah.
that one. I would say something different.
Yeah. I know what you mean though.
Um, for me, it is our natural state of being, like goodwill and compassion and seeing yourself and the other one,
Yeah.
seeing the unity.
Exactly.
Every single person you meet, and it doesn't matter if it's a stranger or if it's your mom or a friend, and having this outflow of goodwill and compassion and love. Love for me is union, seeing myself in you and seeing that I'm actually talking to part of me, right? And that is for me the base, like the ground, like the peace before it. Like it's for me, it's our natural state of being. And then the question is more, what makes us act differently than that? And for me, it is the pain body, it is the emotions, it is our conditioned mind, right? Which is reacting, like you said before, which is conditioned to perceive things and to cut up reality into pieces and thoughts and then act out these patterns.
Yeah.
Right? And so, yeah, me, the more we drop into, the more we allow to drop deeper into this place inside of us, the more our true nature can shine through of goodwill and compassion, also towards ourselves. Also, when you say I was an asshole 10 years ago, also saying, and it's okay,
Exactly. Yes. I
having
forgive.
even compassion for yourself and even for the mistakes you made 5 minutes ago, like even there, understanding that this is not who you are, and it's okay that it happened in the way because it came out of unconsciousness, and
Exactly.
that you can choose anew right now, and that is the most important. The choice you're making right now to align yourself with the peace, with the flow, with the universe, with the deeper level inside of you, inside of us.
Mm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Well said. Yes. Your presence is so calming. I know you understand this. I can feel it in your voice and how you convey it. Yeah. Yeah. I think the essence of what we just touched upon is because we feel our essential nature, this flow, right? The Tao within us, and we see it in the world and in everybody else, and you can't help but see it. So you just know that this essence is a part of everyone else, so you kind of just have to love. You have to, you know? There is no separation at all, truly. It's just an illusion. It's, from this vantage point, easily viable to pierce the illusion. You know, we just easily can see through the illusion, just like that. It's so quick, you know? And yeah, from this, as we spoke, comes a sense of forgiveness, because you can see through all of the BS of the past or any conventions of the future, or what you think about this person because they look a certain way or they said this, or whatever the narrative is. You see through it. You see through the story, and you're able to see the truth, essentially, the truth of what you are and what you are relating to the other person, quote, the other person. So yeah, and it just becomes this dance. I like to say it's the dance of the Tao, and it's just unconditional love. It really just comes down to that, unconditional love. And it's beautiful. It really is beautiful, you know, to be able to see that and feel that in one's life. It may sound a little corny and cliche. We've all heard it before. Love is the truth. Love is the answer. I've said it probably a million times.
Million one now.
Yeah, 1,000,001 now, exactly. But you can't ever say it enough. It's like, it's the truth, man. Really, this reality that we all find ourselves in, this dream, is a dream of love. It's a dream of lucid love that we all find ourselves in right now. Quite contrary to the world and the story and the countless narratives and the popular paradigm that we've been conditioned into our whole lives, for millennia, for lifetimes. When you come to find that this whole thing, from this state of flow, the state of presence, that we're flowing with love. In the river of life, the water is love, right? And you flow with it or against it. And when you find, it's like, that truly is mind-boggling. Actually, I don't think the mind can handle that. There's no computation that the mind could do to be able to figure out, per se, that this is a benevolent dream that is quite literally made for love. And hallelujah, that's crazy, right? That's why they say God is love. Truly, it is. And I think that's what we're all slowly but surely realizing in our own accord, through our own karma and dharma, that, wait a second, hold on a second, I'm supposed to love here. And it's not like a duty, it's not like you have to love. That's the thing, is you don't have to. But I think a human being, and you can resist it if you want, a human being is supposed to, for lack of a better word, surrender to the river of love toward each other. And it's that simple. Slowly but surely, we're getting that message. It might take a little while, and you're not going to find that out by watching CNN or Fox News, that's for sure. But if you go within, and you know where and how to tune into within yourself, it becomes obvious. It becomes apparent. That's the thing, is like this realization, once you see it, you don't unsee it. And it becomes the truest thing of all, right? It becomes, no matter what happens, sometimes I'm not perfect. Like we said before, I'm not perfect. But I'm a lot better than 10 years ago. And I'm able to see that no matter what happens in the movie screen of life, that this love transcends all. This God that is love, no matter what is going on, I know that love is the truth, right? And that is the gift, that is the gift, and that is the miracle of life, essentially. And once you see that, I don't know, it just becomes beautiful. Life becomes just truly a beautiful experience, It's the difference between entropy or momentum. It's that simple. Are you with it or against it? I know what side I'm on. I'm with it. So yeah, do you feel that? Like once you see it, once you realize this, that you may get lost, the light of love may dim here and there, but it's always on, like you always know that this is the truth per se, and you know how to tap into this within yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Something what really wants to be said for me right now, because this is something I experience, that you cannot force your way there. You cannot force your way to love.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot force your way to presence, right? At least I cannot. I don't know about you, but for me, that just doesn't work.
No, it's counterintuitive.
Yeah. So for me, I think that's why I called the channel Allowing Flow, right? Because it's about, like you also said, it's about surrendering into it. It's about allowing it. It's about dropping through all the BS, dropping deeper. And for me, when I feel super lost and I feel a lot of emotions and I don't feel connected to love or presence or the deeper dimension inside of me, when I don't feel connected to that, what I do is actually nothing. That's the thing. I don't do something. I just observe what is there. I observe the emotions and the thoughts. And for me, that is the way. For me, allowing it to be as it is, not resisting it, observing it fully, remembering that it's not who and what we are, that this is literally just energy, right? It's just thoughts, it's just emotions. When I do that, and the more I do that, I feel the space around, and I feel the love you're talking about, and the presence, how I might call it, right?
Beautiful. Yes. And the thing is, see, we know how to be able to drop in, right? No matter how lost in the sauce we get, we always have this sanctuary. And I feel like realizing that this sanctuary is even possible for all of us, this state of observation, seeing through, piercing the veil of the thoughts and all the BS, the noise, is the hardest part to see. It's the hardest part of the journey per se. So, yeah, how do you think that there is a point of exhaustion in the story? Like we reach a point of exhaustion in the story that leads us to this observation point, as in, it's like the hamster wheel. We get tired of being on the hamster wheel, and that enables us to realize that we're on the hamster wheel. You know what I'm getting at? Like, does the darkness bring us to the light, essentially? Because it's like, as we said, once you see it, you don't unsee it. So it's kind of like, you're good. But first of all, you got to see it. That's the hardest part for all of us. What we're speaking on, we have to realize I was going to say it's like an echo chamber. It's not, because it's available for all of us. But unfortunately, most people don't know this is even available, right? I wish I could show everybody this, but it's not that simple. So yeah, what enables us, would you say, or maybe you can speak on your personal journey, to get on this wavelength altogether. Like, how do we even know this is a part of our being? You know, how do we know this is our natural essence?
You mean for ourselves or for others?
Well, I would say both, right? Isn't that the same thing? But yeah, I would let's talk on ourselves. You know, let's. How did you see this? Maybe you can speak from your personal experience.
Yeah. For me personally, it's important not wanting to change others.
Mm-hmm. Because you can't anyway.
You can anyway. And for me, the best way to help others is to be aware. It's the best way to help others is your own state of consciousness, your own state of being, right? Because it ripples out the energy, it affects the people around. Like even in science, that is proven that your energy is rippling out and it's affecting the people around and even the people on the whole planet, right? So for me, I cannot help others and I cannot save others. And I like, who am I to do that? I don't even know. I believe that everybody's exactly where they're meant to be. For
Yeah.
me, there could never, ever be anything wrong with how this moment is unfolding right now.
Yeah.
For me, it's not about, oh, I'm going to go around and like save others. Like, no, like I don't think I could do that. For me, it's about, okay, cool. How can I connect? How can I become conscious and aware, but more conscious, more aware, right? And then allow from that place action to happen, whatever that means, right? It can come in very different forms. And on the way, allowing myself to be where I'm at and allowing others to be where they are at, you know, not thinking that I know better or that they know better, but we're just being, you know, like we're just consciousness in human form experiencing this life. And even if I see somebody and my mind is saying, ooh, they're like super stuck in a hamster wheel, right? For me, that is a thought of my mind. Who am I to know? I trust that life is giving them exactly what they need and that they're whole and taken care of, just as I am.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like there's one way, one right track, you know?
Yeah.
And even if there would be, I wouldn't know it. But for me, I'm like, personally, for Johanna, I choose to be insanely devoted to the present moment and to allow to happen through me what wants to happen through me. And that's all I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful. Trust, I think, is the word that you said. Trust, and I feel maybe faith. Faith in the process. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like you said, who are we to save anybody else? You save yourself to save the world, essentially. But yeah, how did you see this yourself? I think that's what I kind of asked. I asked two different questions in the same in the same statement. So, how did you come to see this in your own life? Did you reach a point of like suffering or exhaustion, or you know, how did you want it? How did you see the hamster wheel, and then how did you get off per se?
Well, life gave me exactly what I needed.
Yeah, exactly.
It did, as it always does.
Uh-huh.
And so I think it was pain. because from some perspective, pain can be a huge gift, even though it's not comfortable and even though it's not easy, but it
I
can
get
be
that.
and for me, it was a lot of emotional pain, this pressure of life, so that the shell of the ego cracks open. Right?
Yeah, I like that. It's a good metaphor. Pressure. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why I've never thought of it like that. Just a bunch of pressure. Just a bunch of pressure, and then all of a sudden, ah.
How was it?
Yeah.
How was it for you? What made you, let's say, become more conscious or wake up?
I'd say it's very similar to your story. Emotional pressure, mental illness, just a general feeling of whatever the opposite of well-being is. I don't know, unwell-being, dis-ease, physical disease, mental disease, just is something not right. And that feeling of there's something not right, one way or the other, led me to wanting to find out what is right. How can I get over this, without hurting myself any longer? So it was the pressure. Yeah, the pressure just built up. And luckily I had the internet. We all have the internet, so there's plenty of guidance of people like you out there that show the way. yeah, I guess so. So people like us that show the way, that have sort of been through it, you could say, and just followed, had a little bit of blind faith in people that are speaking on these things, and then one thing led to another: meditative practice, yoga practice, just a lot of introspection, self-development. And through that self-development, I've come to find out what the true self is, with a capital S. And it definitely led to, as you said, a breaking point and a mitigation of the mental illness. So yeah, the pain was grace in that way. Without the pain, without the suffering, I wouldn't have come to this realization. And hallelujah for that. But what's the word I'm looking for? I say what aided me greatly was just the internet and people that have done it. So that's why I greatly, greatly revere people like you on the path, because you probably don't realize it. I'm not trying to, pump up your ego, but you're helping a lot of people, right? Just the fact that you put yourself out there and that you're vulnerable, that you've been through it and you're showing people your way. You're not saving anybody, as you said, but you just throwing it out there as an offering, right? The fact that you do that is such a wonderful service, because if I didn't have other people out there, many sages of the past, many people of the present, if I didn't have those examples, I'd probably still be stuck on the hamster wheel of suffering and in a pretty dark place, to be honest. So yeah, answering your question, the same as you, just pain, anguish, and that anguish eventually led me to the light. The darkness is what led me to the light. And yeah, I think that's the sort of path and blueprint for all of us in one way or the other. It's like, I like to say in a very simple way, you have to realize what ain't it in order to realize what is it. So our curriculum here in Earth School is sort of realizing what ain't it. It's the school of hard knocks until we're able to graduate into this essence and this presence and this wavelength that we're speaking on right now. So yeah, we're all where we need to be, right? We're all where we need to be. Being able to see that pain and suffering in some way is grace, is the truth. It really is the truth, It's all for us. That's the cliche. That's the platitude that I'm pretty sure we've all heard on this wavelength, that in one way or the other, if this is some kind of universe of love, which it is, that means that even your pain and darkness is for you. It's for your betterment. It's for your growth. It's for ultimately you to be able to find peace. May not seem like it in the moment, may seem like, wait, what? Pain for peace, suffering for peace. No, that's the truth. And I can attest to that. Truly attest to that. Because that's what brought me here. Literally right here in this moment. If I didn't go through it, I wouldn't be able to have conversations with people like you and be able to speak from this place. So, for anyone going through it, anybody listening now, hopefully it doesn't sound like bypassing, but it's all for a reason, right? Because we're all going through it, let's be honest. We're all going through it. But just have faith that you might not even be able to see now, but just a little bit of faith that I feel, even if you don't feel it, that it's all working for your betterment and it's all going to be okay. It really is all going to be okay. So, yeah, just follow that. Have a little bit of faith in the process and trust in the process. And eventually, someday, maybe, it'll all make sense. It'll all come together. So, yeah, I think that answered your question. Appreciate you asking. Yeah. Yeah.
That was really beautiful. That really resonated with me.
Oh, I appreciate you. Yeah, this is awesome talk, Johanna. Wow. Yeah, I feel, I remember we spoke about before we started recording where you get linked up with people through time and space. I feel that in this state of presence is this non-local, non-linear, one mind that we are all connected to, all of us. And maybe the listener is connected to it in the future. That's where it gets even trippier, right? It's true though. We're all in the mind of God, in the mind of love. And all you gotta do is just slow down, get out of your own way, and it'll all come together and make sense. Just breathe. Wow. Yeah, so that might be a good note to wrap this up at, to be honest with you. Do you have anything else you want to say though?
Let me feel into it. Is there something? I want to say thank you. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for linking up with me. Thank you for
of course
energy exchange.
For what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear your last word.
Exchange.
Sorry, one more time. What happens
energy
is when I
exchange.
energy exchange. See, what happens is when I speak, for some reason Zoom cuts out your voice. But yes, for the energy exchange, I feel that. Yeah, it's an exchange, right? Going back and forth. We have this, like, it's just a metaphor, but it's like we have this energy. It's like, oh, I'm gonna pass it over to you, and then you pass it back. You know, it's this flow. That's it. We're just allowing flow through us.
Just flow.
It's just flow. That's it, folks. Well, yeah, I thank you for coming on here. You were very wise and warm and just an awesome person. So yeah, keep up the great work. I wish you all the best. And that's it. Peace and love to you.
Thank you, Gary. All the best to you.
All the best. And peace and love to the listener as well.
Oh, yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.